When you read the Project 2025 playbook, it actually calls for the evading of public records obligations via apps like Signal and other ways to communicate in ways that don't go through the normal channels about Presidential Records Act, how communications are supposed to take place in situations. It actually specifically says basically ignore the archives. This is what Project 2025 says. It says ignore all the process and procedures, keep it secret from your own government so there won't be any receipts to the destruction. So when we talk about this Signal Gate scandal, where all of these Trump regime officials at the highest level are using this app Signal to have these text communications with their war plans, and then they included in those plans a reporter, the editor-in-chief from The Atlantic. The reason why everybody was so normal and chill and cool about using Signal is because that's part of the plan. I don't want that to get lost in this. How many other Signal chats are taking place with the most sensitive compartmented information? Probably all their communications at this point are not going through. So how do you quantify that? Is it thousands? Is it hundreds of thousands? Is it millions? But they are clearly taking the highest level communications off the normal government systems. There was a lawsuit that was just filed by a group called American Oversight, seeking to stop this behavior, seeking an injunction against the use of Signal apps. Get to that lawsuit in a moment. But in the meantime, Donald Trump on Tuesday, he held a public meeting of ambassadors. And at this meeting, he said, I don't like this app. Signal, it's whatever. Whatever. Well, maybe we'll keep on using it. I don't know. Here, play this clip.
Yeah, go ahead. Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the number one used device or app, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the number one used device or app, whatever you want to call it.
There may be a situation where you're forced to use speed instead of gross safety. I don't even know what are those? I know those are words in some sort of Trumpian word salad, but what the hell is he even talking about there? And this is not the process, even for speed. This is not. You have something called, Harry Litman, a White House, where the people work, and you can tell the people, hey, we're not golfing in Mar-a-Lago or golfing over here or driving around a racetrack on taxpayer dollars. Oh, we're working in the White House. There's a reason the president lives where he works, because he's supposed to be working there. And you go downstairs to the basement area in the most highly sensitive skiff, and you call your people there quickly because they guess where they work. In the West Wing or in Washington, they show up right away. They got motorcades to get there quickly, and you address it quickly. Also, guess what? These officials have skiffs in their homes in order to communicate quickly as well. They're built there while they're in office so that these things can be addressed. So, Harry, I mean, when you look at, I don't know, what Trump's doing to help Putin and not doing enforcement of Russian sanctions and saying he wants to invade Canada and Greenland and all of these things, the Overton window has been shifted in such a way that it's just public records, FOIA, these things on the hierarchy feel minimalist, but they're maximalist in their damage of what they're causing and in their violations, because to use Donald Trump's word, gross, it puts us in gross jeopardy of all of our lives when protocols are breached. They're here for a reason. So I don't know the outcome of this America Oversight lawsuit. I'm sure Trump will claim national security and just not comply. And I don't want to make people pessimistic about that. But I guess let's first be descriptive, then prescriptive. What happens here, Harry?
So first, Ben, this is head spinning. We are talking about, first, there's all the lies. You always look at the lie. The refrain that there's no classified information seems to apply to a part of it, but as came clear at the hearing today, where Tulsi Gabbard and another official basically threw Hespeth under the bus, and Jeff Goldberg has said, no. There were operational details about a military strike that is always classified information. 2 hours before the strike was due to occur. Take a step back and imagine how it couldn't be classified. Anybody hears this, the possibility, forget the failed mission, absolute slaughter of U.S. military personnel is extreme. Any situation like this would occasion a criminal investigation by the Department of Justice and the FBI. And if it doesn't happen here, it really shows that they are in the tank. The applicable law, the Espionage Act, says that if you make open or expose classified information in a grossly negligent way, that's a crime. As you'll know, as a criminal defense lawyer, that's a very unusual kind of mens rea, a standard of intent, but that's how important these laws are. Absolutely, they need to be investigating Hespeth, and I'll bet that they don't. How serious was it? So you remember they always used to talk that Hillary Clinton should go to jail for using exactly this, an app that people could breach with some classified information. Here's an app with really high level classified information that was breached. Jeff Goldberg, a reporter, is on the call. You know who else is on the call? A guy, one of the people are in Russia, just in Russia, where of course his phone is constantly surveilled. The way this works, I can't tell you how starchy these requirements are. You usually have to be in a room, and among the other rooms you mentioned, there's a situation room in the White House. It is not hard to get there like in 30 seconds. And the way this works typically is you're in a room, it can't even have windows, lest somebody could, with an unbelievable binoculars peer in. You can't even bring your own phone in, keeping it off, lest nimble adversaries be able to go through your own phone to detect this information. This is the ultimate kind of protection. And first, it's a clear screw up, a clear foobar that they have done, and that the response by Hespeth in particular to say, A, nothing classified, and he seems to be referring to other people's stuff, and B, to, of course, can you imagine, just totally trash Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. This is like shabby and careless in an absolutely elementary way, with absolutely, it would only take one instance, that's why this is so serious, of a leak to put people in extreme danger, burn, reveal methods, burn a source. It is a absolute grievous mistake, and their instincts of trashing the messenger, and apparently not so far. We'll see whether Kash Patel convenes an investigation. Is everyone, and of course, let's overlay with this Pete Hespeth, who seemed to be the least qualified Department of Defense guy in history, and of course, has all these accusations of bad management, etc. This is a capital offense in the military intelligence world, and it's a really possible criminal violation. And man, if the administration or DOJ doesn't look into it, it'll be a really strong signal of just how corrupt they are.
So what do you make of all of this, though? What happens next with this American oversight lawsuit? Are they going to get any traction? Are they going to get discovery? Or, look, here's what I want to know. Obviously, this is not the only signal communication. And so to me, it's going to force this lawsuit, I hope, the Trump regime to either say we have more of these or we don't have more of these, whether there's a discovery process just to find out how significant and substantial this is. Like I'm 99.99999% confident this is not a one-off, and that this is how they're doing almost all of their business. Other war plans. They're talking about Russia with, they're talking about Ukraine on these, while they have people on these messages like Steve Witkoff in Russia, in Moscow, and they always are taking, they basically, I spoke to Ambassador Rice. She said, if you're in Russia with your phone, they've got your phone. And so they're going to have access to all of these communications that are on your Signal app that are outside of a SCIF. So what do we find out? Is there a discovery? Are we going to get any info, or is this going to go into the ether?
So, well, we don't know yet. I suspect it's not going to go into the ether, at least not right away. Even Republicans are going to have an appetite for investigating. And I also suspect that the administration will say we won't use this anymore. But you're what you say is very plausible, Ben, and it might not just have been a convenience thing and how this, ignoramus, who's the Secretary of Defense, does things, but Signal is known for getting rid of messages after a couple weeks, so it might be an intentional evasion of the Presidential Records Act that require things to be preserved. So that'll be part of the investigation. The lawsuit is going to be tricky. We'll see exactly what the complaint says. I haven't seen it yet. But when you have organizations like this suing over that sort of legal violation, and make no mistake, it's a legal violation, there is the recurring problem of, is there standing? Can these organizations show some special kind of injury that the courts will permit them to make their case in, which, by the way, is the flip side. One thing that makes it so pernicious that the administration is continually trashing these judges and these lawsuits. That's the whole legal system. Once you've been injured, the courts are the one-person lobby that you can go to in order to redeem things. And on the other hand, if you're just making an ideological objection, you don't have real standing to show. And I suspect that's going to be the initial fight. If they lose that fight, no discovery. On the other hand, there should be a really robust investigation in the Senate, maybe the House as well, and a robust investigation in the Department of Justice. Whether either of those things will happen with Trump not just in command, but ordering people to stand down and possibly willing to obfuscate, or you might say lie about whether there was any classified information involved. There's different cards they can play, especially with a pliant Senate and House, which they have. But I just want to finish where I ended. This, to anyone who's been in the Department of Justice, even who hasn't, it wasn't my normal beat to do, classified information stuff, but I've done it some, and I've done it as U.S. attorney. This is the biggest screw up I've ever heard of. Actually broadcasting to a public person, Jeff Goldberg, not to mention, as you say, what happened in Russia, plans for a military invasion. It's the ultimate nightmare that you do in like war games exercises, but you hope and pray never comes to pass in the actual world. Here it came to pass, and they're stonewalling the investigation of it. That's triple bad.
Harry Litman, Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. It's where I get my legal news from. So on any of your devices, just search Talking Feds and subscribe on the YouTube, the Substack, the podcast. Harry Litman, thanks as always.
Thank you, Ben.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.